If there is one thing that you want to avoid being in life, it is a hypocrite. The problem is, we are all hypocrites in one way or another. So let the man without sin cast the first stone.
Dua, tiga. Yo, bagus. Enggak. Lepas.
No one's hands are clean. We all have things that we have said and done that we are not proud of or would handle differently now. We all do things behind closed doors that we would not want publicized. We all betray ourselves. We all have moments of do as I say and not as I do. I was a huge hypocrite. Probably one of the greatest examples of this in my past was my relationship with monogamy. I've always believed in loyalty and in honesty and not deceptively sleeping around while in a relationship, but I found myself, or more accurately, I chose myself into a situation where I was spinning multiple plates who all thought that they were the only one. And I will be the first to tell you that this was the lowest point in my life, filled with the most addiction and mental health issues. I basically could not even sleep without substance to keep the night terrors at bay. I woke up gasping for air and drowning in sweat on a regular basis. And I truly believe that my soul was being tormented by my hypocrisy and lack of integrity. Now, there are people out there who are sociopathic or who don't have a moral code to speak of, to violate, or who have put their soul under so much friction for so long that a callus has formed over their heart.
I didn't feel anything.
But I think for many of us, we have behaviors in our lives that go against what we believe to be right and true and healthy.
Okay, ladies, I'm going to tell you something that the rest of the world won't. You don't need to have a hoe phase. I got a DM from a girl that's kind of like my age, and she asked me if I thought that was like a necessary part of life. All her friends are telling her like, this is the time of your life to like sleep around, be promiscuous. And she's like, do I need to do this? My opinion is no. Nobody needs to do that. In fact, I think there are a lot of downsides to the whole hookup culture in general, and this idea that before you can settle down, you need to like go crazy. I think that hookup culture, according to the studies that I've looked at, harms women, and it doesn't fulfill what women really want. It fulfills what toxic, like non-committing men want, but for women, it usually doesn't do much. Regarding hookups, men and women were both asked the same kind of questions, and the reason for hookup regret for women was that they felt used a lot of times and they kind of regretted that. And for men, their biggest regret was that the woman they were with wasn't attractive enough. That's not empowerment, honey.
Self-betrayal cuts deep, and the pain of it typically only forces us deeper into self-harming behaviors and addictions to cope. If we are truly and brutally honest with ourselves, we can all find discrepancies between what we practice and what we preach, between what we expect from others and what we expect from ourselves, between who we want to be and who we see in the mirror. None of us are perfect. We can all find cracks in our integrity. Integrity defined means whole and undivided, and I don't think any of us fit that definition of integrity across the board at all times. Besides, I'm not sure if I believe that is even the right goal or expectation anyways. Perfection is as attainable as it is relatable. I know I cannot listen to anyone who claims to present themselves to be the walking definition of divinity. Courage does not exist in the absence of vulnerability. Strength cannot be built in the absence of resistance. True power is found in the process, in the internal struggle between hypocrisy and integrity. It is when we wrestle with ourselves and with God and with idols and demons that we find purpose. It is in the friction between who we are and who we want to be that strength is built and wisdom is found. For salt water and fresh water cannot flow from the same spring, just as a fig tree cannot bear olives and an olive tree cannot bear figs. And while this rings true for Mother Nature, it is not so black and white for human nature. This is the blessing and the curse of humanity and consciousness, to be able to hold both light and dark, and both heaven and hell, and both life and death, both right and wrong within every word and every action. Every single one of us is capable of the greatest good in one moment and the greatest evil the next. And maybe there are levels to hypocrisy, from little white lies on the surface all the way to deep false realities that we have tied to the core of our identity. For example, people who believe that they are incapable of atrocities and violence. People who believe that they are inherently good and that anyone who thinks differently is inherently evil. Sexists and racists and all of the other echo chamber-ism types. And you will find these types of people on the ends of any spectrum. There's a reason why such people refuse to see reality, because their hypocrisies run so deep that if they were to face them, it would destroy their entire sense of self and their entire sense of good and evil and right and wrong, because deep down, they are what they hate. One of the surest signs of deeply rooted hypocrisy is someone who is easily triggered and fragile. This is why it is said that our triggers are indicators for self-exploration, because there is probably something hypocritical or misaligned in that area, a wound that could use some more healing. I say it all the time. I believe that it is harder to heal from the things that we have done than the things that have been done to us, because the things that have been done to us aren't really about us, but the things that we have done are what define us. I would dare to say that nearly every single vegetarian and vegan in the world would cross their own moral boundaries if they were faced with true starvation, and not only their own starvation, but that of their children and loved ones. I believe that such an act of hypocrisy to their moral code would short-circuit their brains and possibly send them spiraling into existential crisis, anxiety, depression, and PTSD, because their belief system was not based in the harsh realities of humanity and survival. Studies did show that Vietnam veterans were more traumatized by the things that they did, that they didn't think that they were capable of doing, more than anything else. You spend your life thinking that you are the hero, only to find out you are also a villain.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
I digress. Maybe one of the greatest quests in this life is found in the closing of the distance between our hypocrisy and our integrity. Maybe that is where alignment with our highest vibration is found, when we can get as close to those fig trees and olive trees as possible, when our yes means yes and our no means no. When we have a deeper understanding of the picture Jung painted with the idea of the tree with branches reaching to heaven, also having roots reaching to hell. Lastly, it is difficult to trust a hypocrite. And if trust is necessary for a loving relationship to blossom, is it any wonder why we struggle to love the hypocrite in the mirror?
What you're about to see is graphic, and viewer discretion is advised. Here's what we know.